Chrissy wrote.
Chrissy and Sue each took turns co-writing episodes.
Yeah.
How did that opportunity present itself, and what was that experience like?
It was scary. Well, it was like a big episode for Kate.
Yeah.
Which was cool because I feel like at that point in time, I was like, okay, I think I have something to contribute. I think I know her voice. I know the relationship. And what was interesting is David and, Tiffany.
Yeah. No. Casting or?
Oh man,
the
now
writing
my
team.
brain.
Her
The writing team.
Casey.
Casey.
David
David
and
and Casey.
But
David and Casey.
Tiffany in casting kind of
Yeah.
looks like Casey.
True.
I'm so
She
sorry.
They do.
True fact.
Thank you guys. Oh, so sorry. Yeah.
You're good.
So David, Casey, and I were co-writing. And so the process, I initially was like, Dan, like I want to do this because I'm really interested in writing and scared as heck to direct because I'm not great at telling people what to do.
Okay.
I'm not.
I didn't direct, so I'm not.
Why didn't you direct? Actually, I've always
He
wanted
was
to know that.
busy.
Oh, you were
Yes.
Well, listen.
very
He was
BUSY.
booked and busy.
It's busy,
Yeah,
but
but
it was
busy.
also, I felt like my kids, I wanted to be as present for them as possible. And directing takes a large
Yes.
time commitment. And I
Yeah.
did have a lot of
Yes.
other stuff going.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So,
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember how involved it was, even like in the meetings.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how you guys felt, but like, you have an idea in your mind of what it's going to look or sound like, and that ain't it. And you're like, okay, I have to relinquish this
Yeah.
every second. Like,
Yeah.
this is a collaborative art. This is
Yes.
the whoa.
yeah.
And that was tricky. Even like when we were sitting on the stoop and like they had to build the stoop, the stairs, and then we did. I was like, oh my word! Like it was just a lot.
Sure.
But I loved conceptually that episode because seeing these different ways of the way Kate interprets things and all that. But I remember like writing a few things and Dan didn't know if it was David Casey or I, and he would just get it and he was like, oh, this is a funny joke. Oh, this is good. And I was like, yes! Yes!
Mine. That was mine. That was mine.
Dan Fogelman thought something I did was funny or like entertaining or like, oh, I like this or like that. And I was like, oh, so that was like very
That's really
validating.
cool.
Oh, I
And it was
love
just
that.
a cool experience to do it.
That's great.
But it was, it's just very, there's just so much going on in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To your point about the writer's room earlier, like when you put something out there, like it's because I go to the writer's room all the time. I find it fascinating.
Oh, it's so cool.
And everybody goes, they always begin it like, okay, here's the bad pitch. And they always sort of say like, here's the bad pitch because they don't want anybody to judge what's
Of
about to
course.
come out of
Sure,
their mouth
sure.
too heavily.
Yeah.
But then they put the pitch out there and you can tell like they thought about this
Yeah.
really deeply
Yeah.
and whatnot. And you see Dan sitting at the end of the table like, yeah, that's good. Like they're waiting to hear,
Yeah.
like, oh, does he like it?
Yeah.
Does
Is it
Dad
good
like
enough?
it or is it not good?
Does it have legs?
And
like,
then sometimes he'll take the idea. Sometimes he'll take a kernel of the idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's like, you know what? Maybe we'll try that at another time. Like he's always very kind. in
He
the way
is.
that
Of
he
course
does it.
he is.
Because
Of
he recognizes too that somebody put in a lot of time, thought, energy into whatever it is
Sure,
that they're
yeah.
about to say the bad pitch, right?
The
Yeah,
bad
I mean, well,
pitch.
that's the only way to good ideas is through bad ones.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you get lucky and the first one's a good one, but
Yeah.
I'm always glad to have 3 or 4 takes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or 5 or 6. Speaking of being an agent, I think I told you guys, but I just had to circle back around.
yeah.
Go.
Because Hannah Zeal, who played the younger,
Sure.
she was my commercial client at one point.
I didn't know that.
You didn't
Yes.
know that?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew
I don't know
that.
if I knew that.
Yeah.
What?
Really?
And Eris. We also represented Eris.
Did you really?
Yeah. So it's really kind of wild how life is just funny that way. I just wanted to throw that in.
Okay, so let me ask this question then, and there could be plenty of other ones. I'm just curious. Pre This Is Us, post That Is Us. What is it like walking through the world now? Is it completely different? Anonymity completely gone? Is it a pain in the butt? Is it a privilege? Is it all those things? Like, what's the difference life now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You know, like a woman literally stopped my car. I was driving out of my driveway. She goes, oh my God, my daughter told me you lived here. Oh my God, you do. And I was like, yeah, hi. And she was walking her dog and she was like, listen, if you never do anything again, you've done it. You've done it. And I said, you know what? I said, ma'am,
you're
you're
not
right.
wrong.
I said, ma'am, you're not wrong. And she goes, no, really? Like if you never book another job, I don't know what you're doing now,
Yep.
but if you never book another job.
Stop saying it, ma'am. I appreciate the compliment. Stop
put that
saying
in the
it.
universe?
Yeah,
Stop saying
Thank
it.
you.
She's
Yeah.
like, do you want a liquid death?
Yeah. Is that what you're giving me? Okay. Good. Yeah. And she's like, if you never do anything ever again. Like, you've done it. And honestly, there's a part of me that really knows that and like
Yeah.
really feels that way. Because I think, I can only speak for myself, but as an actor, like this is this show was a dream
Yeah.
in every capacity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Completely, of course, changed my life. You guys know I was
Yeah.
broke as a joke. But
81.
also, you know, the opportunities and things that I've dreamt about doing all my life that I was able to do, even being able to like take my family places
Yeah.
or like help them when there's a hurricane and trees have fallen, you know, like,
A lot of hurricanes just came through Florida, man.
I mean, literally 3.
Yeah.
But anyway, all the people of West North Carolina and all the people, but, you know, like in every single way. And sometimes, most of the time it's great
Yes.
until one woman berated me
Let's
at the
hear it.
airport.
What?
It's always at the airport, y'all.
Go in.
I'm like a sitting duck.
People,
I
and
need to
people are
hear
having
this.
a hard time at the
Yeah,
airport.
people are traveling is not fun.
It's
What
not.
did
People
she
are
do?
grumpy.
So I was leaving Nashville to go to Utah for a speaking engagement.
Okay.
And about like self-esteem and like all these things and like how we walk through the world. So I'm walking by and she goes, oh my God, I'm high. Do you think I can have a picture? And I was like, I'm actually running late. And it was for a therapy call with an ex-boyfriend. It didn't work, which is great. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I'm running through the therapy call. And I was like, I didn't have to tell her all this stuff, but I
Yeah.
did. I was like, I'm actually running late for a therapy call and I don't want to miss it. And she's like, ugh. Like it was an excuse. And you guys know me, like the moment I draw my boundaries, ma'am wanted to like poo-poo them. And I was like,
You don't poop on my boundary.
I said, you know what? I'm sorry, but I have to go. So I go, I'm in the Delta Lounge. Shout out Delta.
Yeah.
And it's like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It really
Absolutely.
is. I really love that.
Absolutely.
You ever do the Delta One entry?
You're
Yes, we
listening.
love
yeah,
a Delta
yeah.
One
Jeez.
entry.
There you go. Okay.
Luxury.
It's anyway. So I'm sitting there, I'm on the call, and unbeknownst to me, I guess she was in the lounge and I didn't know this. A couple people walked by. I met this really nice guy who was French and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, I love the show. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, thanks.
What
I know
did
that
he
was
say?
terrible.
How did
I
he
love
say
the
it?
show.
Oh, my God.
I know. Oh my God, I love the show. We watch it all the time. Yeah. My family and I. He didn't do no but I thought he might have.
Let me get off this therapy call real quick.
No. Like,
Ba.
are we breaking up because there's a really cute French guy? No, he was married.
Okay.
But I'm not always scoping, I promise. Okay.
I believe you.
So, okay. So, anyway, we get on the flight. We land in Utah, and my publicist was supposed to meet me. She was running late. So, I walk through the airport by myself. And sometimes it's fine. But this big body girl sometimes cannot hide. Okay. So, there were a couple people, and there was a big convention going on. And I'll never forget, this lady was like, oh my gosh, my son. And she's like walking with me. I was like, I have to get my bag. And she's like, oh, okay. And she's like, oh my God, my son is here for this convention. And do you think you could just sign this? And I was like, you're going to a convention to stand in line to get autographs that you're paying for. And I didn't say this, but I was like, but we're like walking and I got to go. And does your son really want I was like, is it me? And she's like, anyway, I kept being like bombarded. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay. So then I finally get to the baggage claim. I get my bag and the girl from the plane,
Oh boy.
or I didn't realize she was on my flight. She was like,
From the airport, also
Right.
in the lounge.
yes.
Also,
yes.
yeah.
She was
She's
following
like,
you.
Chrissy. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she goes, how dare you? And I'm not kidding you guys, shouting, pointing her finger at me like I'm her child that she is reprimanding. How dare you not take a picture? How dare you? And the French guy comes to my rescue. He was like, excuse me? I think you need to stop.
That's
And-
when he was like, oh.
yeah, that's when he's like, oh. No, he didn't. I don't want to say that. So anyway, he was like, excuse me, you do not get to talk to her like that. And she's like, you're not even a part of this. What I'm saying is all I wanted was a picture. My sister just wanted a picture. I was like, oh, so you didn't even want the picture. And I was like, the fact that I drew my boundaries and you don't even care and you still don't even care. All you had to say to me was, I'm so sorry you couldn't take a picture earlier. Will you take a picture with me now? And she was like, no, I don't even want the picture now. And I was like, okay, great. And of course, what
Me
does Chrissy
neither.
start doing? Crying. I start crying because I feel bad because the first time I draw my boundaries, I'm like, they're not even being honored. I said, you know what? And so like,
This is kind of on Delta too, because we know that lady got free drinks in that lounge.
Yeah.
And if she
Blood
was in that
drinks.
lounge, that means she was in first class, which means she got champagne before she even took off.
Come on now.
Now, Delta, you're fucking with people's boundaries.
Yeah. It's on you, Delta.
People are trying to hold their boundaries.
God forbid a woman can like operate like a human being, but she shouted at me to the point like it shook me up for a second.
It would shake anyone up.
It was not okay. And luckily, like, you know, eventually Cheryl came around the corner. She's like, what the hell's going on? I was like, this lady is being mean to me. She's like, oh, you haven't even seen mean. And I was like,
Cheryl.
Whoa, she like
sick Cheryl on it.
Wait, Cheryl did that, or the woman said you
oh,
had?
no, she's like, you haven't even seen mean. Cheryl's like, it's enough, lady. It's
Wow,
enough,
like
lady.
she wouldn't let it go.
No, she wouldn't. I said, at this point, you probably don't even want a picture of me, right? And she's like, oh, you know what? And the guy was like, I think you need to leave. You need to leave the airport. The French guy, the nice French. Yeah. So
Were you at least able to recognize like this doesn't have anything to do with me?
Yeah.
eventually, yes,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
was like, this
but I'm
person is.
that's like an
having
old
a
wound
time.
for me as a
I
people
know.
pleaser.
Sure.
I know.
It's hard. So that kind of stuff really throws me.
Yeah.
And but most of it, 98 point is really, 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 really
Sure.
great.